Good morning. Sorry for the short delay. I was trying to prepare for the teaching. Just kidding. Let me know where you're watching from. As soon as I get my... There we go. Let me know where you're watching from. What time you wake up in the morning, we'll do that. Miss Donna, good morning. Kathy, good morning. Elder Barbara, Dawn, Sharon, Cheryl, Stephen, Dee Dee. Wife. Good morning, all of y'all. Let me know what time you woke up this morning and why you weren't at prayer. Just kidding. Good morning, Kay. Wake up anywhere between 4:30 and 6. Well, last week we started our series on Christians and finances, and we will continue on this time. And if you have any questions, I know we had quite a few questions in the last one, so if you have any questions, you can type those in the comments at any point, and we will get to them at some point. So last week, we'll just start where we are. I'm trying to think if there's any really important announcements that I need. Don't forget, if you're interested in the Bible school and you still have questions, you need help with your application, or you weren't at the first meeting, we do have a meeting this Sunday right after service in the small auditorium. That's this Sunday, small auditorium right after service. We also have Pastor Mark McCord all the way from Switzerland here this Sunday. So you want to be here for that. We have Evangelist Ankish, I think is what I was told by one of his team members, is actually how it's pronounced. Ankish Rambabu will be here just in a few weeks. And we got a lot of outreach stuff coming up for that. We got soul winning this Saturday. Say soul winning this Saturday. Do people need to attend to their first meeting? No. If you don't have any questions, all your questions have been answered, you've already got your application in and everything, then no, you don't need to be there unless you just have more questions. Soul winning this Saturday. Then we have a big outreach on the 4th. So you want to get involved and plugged in with that. All right. All the YouTube people, please say good morning. It's good to see you. We're going to start where we left off last time. So we are going to start, and we're going to look at the contrast between poverty and abundance, or lack and provision. So let's go to John. Let's start in John 10:10. Let's establish the character of God. So let's look at John 10:10. Are y'all there? Are you turned there? John 10:10. The New King James says, "The thief does not come except to steal, to kill, and destroy. I have come that they may have life." So here's the characteristics of God. He's come to give us life, and that they may have it more abundantly. The Amplified says this: the thief comes only in order to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have and enjoy life. Hey, Tony, good to see you. So type these things in the comment. Have life, enjoy life, and here it says, and have it in abundance, to the full, till it overflows. So God wants you to have life in its fullness, to where you're enjoying it. It's overflowing. It's affecting others. That means His life is affecting yours because it overflows. Why are you telling us again what time you woke up? You already told us, didn't you? Or did it just pop? Oh, it just popped up again. Sorry. So He desires for us to have a full, happy, enjoyable life. That's who He is. He is enjoyable to be around. He is happy. He is joyous. Abundance. Let's actually look up the word abundant. So abundance, an ample quantity, an abundant amount, affluence or wealth. abundant, existing or occurring in large amounts, marked by great plenty, more than enough. So God's character is more than enough. So he desires for us to have a life of more than enough. And right there in the same verse, it shows us that the enemy's character is to steal, to kill, and destroy, that we have lack, that we have not enough. So there is a contrast there. So now that we've established his character, let's go to John 6 and back it up. I don't know, but that's weird. John 6, verse 1. After this, Jesus crossed over to the far side of the Sea of Galilee, also known as the Sea of Tiberias. A huge crowd kept following wherever he went because they saw his miraculous signs, and he healed the sick. Then Jesus climbed a hill and sat down with his disciples around him. It was nearly time for Jewish Passover celebration. Jesus soon saw a huge crowd of people coming to look for him. Turning to Philip, he asked, "Where can we buy bread to feed all these people?" So right here, you see the people were hungry. They were in need. You also see the characteristic of God. He wants to help those in need. He wants to help the hungry. He was testing Philip, for he already knew what he was going to do. Philip replied, "Even if we worked for months." So the other thing you see about Jesus is, where can we buy bread? So he is already thinking about provision. He didn't ask how we were going to make money to get the bread, where we were going to get the money to buy the bread. He just said, where can we buy the bread? Philip replied, "Even if we worked for months, we wouldn't have enough money to feed them." So you see Philip here thinking in the flesh, thinking in a poverty mindset. Even if I worked all these years, I would never have enough money. This is what Philip's saying. So here we're seeing a contrast between poverty and abundance. Then Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up. "There's a young boy here with 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. But what good is that with a huge crowd?" So here, this is probably most Christians. We're torn between a place of faith and what we see in our flesh. We kind of have faith. Lord, I know what your word says. I know you say you're an abundant God, but this is all I see with my natural eyes. That's what Andrew's saying, right? So then here's Jesus. Verse 10, "Tell everyone to sit down." Jesus said, so they all sat down on the grassy slopes. The men alone numbered about 5,000. Then Jesus took the loaves and gave thanks to God. That is important. Type in the comments, Jesus gave thanks. Jesus gave thanks. If you see beads of sweat start going down my head, it's not because I ate anything spicy, but Miss Kay thought it was good to open a franchise of Hot Works here at the church and had it in a sauna, and yet here I am in like 3 layers of clothing today. So it's windy outside, I promise. It's just, if I'm sweating in here, that's why. Yes, Jesus gave thanks. Hey, Angela, Jesus gave thanks. There we are. Verse 11. Then Jesus took the loaves, gave thanks to God. So here, we have to take what the Lord has given us, what we have in our hands. Whether in the natural, in your mind, you think it's plenty, or you think, hey, how am I going to get by? You take what you have. You take what He has put in your hands, because that's the exact thing. You have to realize He is the source, your source. We talked about that last week. Giving Him thanks for giving you what is already in your hands. Acknowledging that it came from Him. Then what happened? And distributed them to the people. Afterwards, He did the same with the fish. So he got it, gave thanks, and I actually should have gotten the other reference of this. Gave thanks, then broke it, getting it to where it goes. He gave it to His disciples first. So we could look at this practically. When we get our paycheck, what should be the first thing we do? Give thanks to the Lord that He gave it to us. Then He gave it to His disciples, those who provide for others. So the first thing we should do is give our tithes and our offerings. And then we break it up amongst our bills and everything else that we have to do. By giving thanks and putting Him first, what happened to these fish and the bread? Afterwards, He did the same with the fish, and they ate as much as they wanted. Everyone ate as much as they wanted. When you do it this way, when you're giving thanks to the Lord and you put your tithes and offerings first, put Him and His kingdom first, there will be enough. There will be enough. After everyone was full, Jesus told His disciples, now gather the leftovers so that nothing is wasted. You know, this is something I've noticed over the decade or almost 2 decades now of tithing, that there are times where my money shouldn't stretch as far as it does. There's times where people get paid more than I do, but they're not tithers and their money wears out faster. There's times where it looks like, man, is my money going to make it till next paycheck? But then there's more than enough. Why? Because you put God first. You're setting a standard. So they picked up the pieces and filled 12 baskets with scraps left by the people who had eaten from the 5 barley loaves. So here you see the character of God. You see, He is not a poverty God. He is an abundance God. Y'all repeat this or type this in the comments. My Father takes good care of me. Hey, Brother Larry, good to see you this morning. My Father takes good care of me. If you haven't shared this already, go ahead and share it because people need to know that. My Father takes good care of me. The word actually tells us in Psalms 37 that He gives us the desires of our hearts. It also tells us that He daily takes care of us. Hey, Taylor, good to see you. He daily takes care of us. It tells us that He showers the righteous with blessings. It says that His hand of blessing is on our head. These are all the things He says about us. He daily takes care of us. It also tells us that He will answer our prayers with awesome deeds. You need to know what the Word says about you. You need to know what the Word says about God your Father and His character. He is not a poverty God. He is not a lack God. He is a more than enough God. Everything He does in abundance. He does not desire for you to scrape by in survival mode. You've got to know that. So many Christians box God in and think that we have to just get by. Is abundance and just getting by the same word? No. You can't say, it's kind of like this. You can't really believe in salvation but not in provision. It just doesn't make sense. Because let's go off course here for a little bit. A lot of people believe in salvation, right? But do they only believe that salvation saves them from hell? Or do they believe it sets them free and changes their character and changes who they are? See, right there, that if God was a just get by God, then salvation would only be to set you free from hell. You wouldn't be set free from addiction. You wouldn't be set free from your characteristics. You wouldn't be set free from different things in life. But salvation, sozo, means all-encompassing, holistic change. We don't deserve to be healed from disease. We don't deserve to be set free from addiction. Those are all abundance of salvation. That comes from the overflow of the being of Jesus dying for us. He could have just died for us. But He went down to hell, got the keys of sin and death, defeated the enemy, rose again, and ascended on high. Every step of that was excess beyond salvation. It's the same with provision. You can't believe salvation and believe He's not a provisional God. He desires for us to be prosperous. The same way He desires for you. Let's just go there. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, I was just there. Bad translation. 3 John verse 2. New King James. Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things. Say all things. And be in health, just as your soul prospers. So what is your soul? Your mind, your will, emotions. So right there, he's saying, I want you to prosper in all things and be in health, which is your physical body, and your soul, your mind, your will, and emotions. The Amplified says this, Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in every way, and that your body may keep well, even as I know your soul keeps well and prospers. So right there, that is holistic prosperity. You cannot just believe in one part of prosperity. You can't believe in physical prosperity. Oh, I can be healed. That's prosperity. You have to believe God for his character. How many of you, by a show of emoji hands, or you type the word me if you're not good with emojis, have seen any form of testimony of God's goodness, whether your life or someone else's? You've seen where this is no doubt God showed up for me or for this person. Whether it's physical healing, whether it's deliverance from something, whether it's being rescued out of a situation, whether it's provision, financial, whatever it is. How many of you have seen that? I have seen it time and time and time and time again. I have seen healing in my body. I have seen financial miracles. I have seen freedom, shackles broken off. I have seen things restored. I have seen miracles of like dead trees cut off, if you can say it that way. You can't tell me that it isn't true. God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. His character is the same. He does not change. The fruit of God proves who he is. You can't believe it in one aspect of his character and not holistically. Good morning, Allie. Good to see you. If he healed you and he desires for you to be whole, then he desires for you to be prosperous as well. You have to get the revelation that God is the same in every area of your life. He doesn't desire for you to be set free from sin, but be in poverty and lack. It doesn't make sense. If that's you, you have mischaracterized God. You have that's the best way to say it. God is holistically the same in every area of your life. Haggai 2:8. Listen to some of his characters. The silver is mine, the gold is mine, says the Lord of Heaven's army. Why is that important? He wants people to know, look, it doesn't matter what you need. It doesn't matter what you think you have access to. All the silver and the gold is mine. Your Father has access to literally all. You know what? He doesn't have access to it. He's the one that created it. We have to stop saying. We have to stop saying exactly. We have to stop saying, I can't afford that. I will never be able to buy that. I'll never be able to go there. When you do that, you literally handcuff God. You are literally spewing salt water and pure water out of the same mouth. Blessing and cursing out of the same mouth. Father, I thank you. You're my provider. Man, I'm never going to be able to go on that vacation. You stop doing that. Stop doing it. Proverbs 18:20. Wise words satisfy like a good meal. The right words bring satisfaction. I want to see what the King James says on that one. The good old King James. Proverbs 18:20. It says, a man's belly shall be satisfied with the fruit of his mouth. Listen to that. A man's belly shall be satisfied. What does that mean? Your fleshly desires shall be satisfied by what comes out of your mouth. So if you're constantly speaking the word, then the material things you see are produced by what you're speaking out. If you're speaking the word, you will walk in what God desires for you to walk in. This is where I say, and I'm getting way ahead of myself. But in Psalms 37, verse 4, it says he will give you the desires of your heart. To me, when I got the revelation of this, it's twofold. Twofold. Sorry, you can tell I coached baseball. Twofold. Not twofold. It is twofold because why? He'll give you the desires of your heart, the things that you desire. But number two, the desires of your heart change the more you get into the Word, because his desires become your desires. Therefore, he's giving you his desires. Does that make sense, or was that too wordy? Whenever your character becomes God's character, whenever your life becomes solely based on the Word and not what you see around you and not your flesh, then your desire... How many of you have noticed this? 2 Corinthians 5:17. I told you I can work this into any message. 2 Corinthians 5:17. As soon as you become a new creation in Christ, what does that mean? New creation. Things are made new. The way you think, the way you talk, all of it becomes new. How does it become new? Because it gets changed to line up with his Word. The more time you spend in his Word, you start desiring the things he desires. You start desiring for the lost to be saved. You start desiring for blind eyes to be open, for the brokenhearted to be healed. You start desiring the same things that he desires. So that's why for me, Psalms 37 verse 4, he gives you the desires of your heart is twofold. He'll give you the things that you seek, you ask for, but the things you're seeking and asking for change because you're going solely after him and his kingdom. So back to Proverbs 18:20, that's where we were. A man's belly shall be satisfied with the fruit of his mouth. So say this, the words that come out of my mouth produce what I receive. The words that come out of my mouth, that's so good, I'm writing it down. The words that come out of my mouth produce what I receive. Another translation says this, sharing words of wisdom is satisfying to your inner being. It encourages you to know that you've changed someone else's life. Yet that's the other thing. Your words can change someone else's life. If you're always speaking negative, I mean, this is a study that's been done all throughout history. If there is a parent that is always land blasting a kid, always speaking negative over them, you're never going to amount to anything. You're going to end up in prison. Where do they end up? In prison. But the parents that always speak positive things over their kids turn out to produce more. They make more money. They have better paying careers. Their families are off better. The words that come out of my mouth produce what I receive. So here's the other thing we have to do. Stop joining in poverty conversations. Stop joining in poverty conversations. Someone else says, man, I can never afford it. Don't go, yeah, I know. Just be like, well, my father gives it to me because he owns all the cattle on 1,000 hills. All the silver and gold is his. Stop joining in poverty conversations. Job 27, verses 16 and 17. This one's good. This one's good. Evil people may have piles of money and may store away mounds of clothing, but the righteous will wear that clothing and the innocent will divide that money. So with that said, we'll read this before I go there. Proverbs 21:20. The wise have wealth and luxury, but fools spend whatever they get. You have to take care of what you have. You have to be where you are. I think we talked about that last time. Don't get ahead of where you are now. Don't outspend where you are. But value and take care of what you do have. I'll give you a testimony to that. You know, for years and years and years and years since I moved back to the States, I was believing for a nice truck. I like trucks. I've driven a truck since I was 16. I learned how to drive on a truck. That's just what I do. I like trucks. I was believing for a nice one. Someone had blessed, it's a long story. We'll just say had blessed me with one. And it was an older truck. And I literally heard the Lord tell me, when you take care of this truck the way you would the one you're believing for, I'll give you the one you're believing for. And that truck, even though it's got over 250,000 miles on it now, whenever we take it places to get service, they're like, man, I cannot believe how old this truck is. It looks so good. Are you taking care of the clothes you have now the same way you would that Gucci suit? Are you taking care of the shoes you have now the same way you would for fill in the blank, whatever you're believing for? Are you taking care of the vehicle you have now the same way you would whatever you're believing for? So say you're believing for a Porsche. You would be out there hand washing that Porsche, detailing that Porsche. Are you taking care of the vehicle you have now the same way? Let's go further. You feel called to ministry. Are you taking care of the call of God on your life that way? Are you producing fruit? Are you stirring up those gifts? Are you working on those gifts? Are you exercising those gifts? Whatever you're believing for, whatever it is, a house. Are you taking care of the house maybe you're renting now? Are you taking care of that rent house the same way you would the house that you're believing for? Or because it's a rental house, you don't even mow the yard? Dress and look like, this is big for me. Dress and look like someone that believes in and is a child of the God that calls himself the God of more than enough. God literally calls himself the God of more than enough. El Shaddai, that's what that means. Do you look like someone that believes you serve that God? Or do you look like you serve a God that can't even answer prayers? You may not have $1,000 suits. You may not have $200 suits. You may not even have a suit, but do you iron the dress shirt you wear? Do you wash your clothes? Do you shower? Like, do you clean out your car? Maybe I'm a little over the top on this because both my kids have come to me. Like, Brooklyn's 16 now, so she's ridden with a couple of her friends, and she's like, Dad, I got in so-and-so's car, and it was so disgusting. There was stuff on the floor. Because, like, I keep my cars, like, clean. Like, when the Lord gives you that revelation, every time you see something on your floor, you get rebuked. Like, whenever the Lord tells you personally, hey, you take care of this one, and I'm going to give you what you desire, then you start taking care of the stuff he gives you. And I'll be 100% honest. Like, people ask me, how many pairs of shoes do you have? And I've told my wife from day one, because whenever we got married, she was like, Sean, that's ridiculous. When you take care of the stuff you have, the Lord blesses you with more of it all the time. Like, I have pairs of shoes that are 16, 17 years old, and they still look new. Why? Because when you take care of what the Lord gives you, what he puts in your hand now, he gives you more. In fact, I'll tell you a testimony last year. Last year, it's 2023 now. Last year for my birthday, I got blessed with a pair of shoes. And I'll be honest, that until I started getting a hold of this, that I never thought I could own. And I got blessed with it. I didn't pay for any of it. Why? Because I take care of what the Lord has given me. When you take care of what the Lord gives you, that's when he can trust you with more. That's when he'll give you the desires of your heart. But if you don't take care of what he's given you now, why would he give you more? And that goes for every area of life, not just material things, not just finances. You see, that goes with the call of God on your life. If you have started doing something with what he's told you now, then he can increase and open doors for you. But if you're staying stagnant, why would he give you more? Stagnant things do not grow. Okay, well, my mom just rebuked me. She said, you've taken care of your shoes since You were 7, 8 years old. But okay, so that's good. No, and I would say my mom, my dad, my soccer coaches established that in me. Because Mom, you may remember, and I don't know how old I was because I don't remember which team it was. And I think it may have been Horse with Comets. It may have started with Longhorns when I was 12. If we showed up to a game without our cleats being polished, we were not allowed to step on the field. Didn't matter if we were a starter. Didn't matter if we were the best player on the team. Didn't matter if we were on the bench. You were not allowed to go into the game if your cleats were not clean and polished. And that just kind of instilled, these things were instilled in me from a little age. My mom taught me how to dress well. She always took care of me. She made sure I had nice clothes. I think I got voted best dressed in high school. If not, people always made comments about stuff like that. If you take care of the things you have, the Lord will give you more. You have to change your mindset. So many people have a mindset of who's going to bless me. They're always looking around. They go to a conference. Ooh, that person looks rich. I bet they can bless me. Oh, I know that person has money. They can bless me. Why aren't we looking to bless other people? The word tells us those who refresh others will themselves be refreshed. I've gone through it 100 times. We see God's character is that he's a rewarder. And I think we're going to get into that here in a little bit. But I'm way off my notes and I've spent most of my time already. But if he's a rewarder, then that means we do something to get the reward. Let's look. Let's start looking, and let me just stop going off track. Genesis 18, 4 through 5. Rest in the shade of this tree while water is brought to you to wash your feet. And since you've honored your servant with this visit, let me prepare some food to refresh you before you continue your journey. Are you looking to bless other people? How can you bless other people? You can see here, God is saying that he sent someone with water, with food. John 8:39. They answered and said to him, Abraham is our father. Jesus said to them, if you were Abraham's children, you would do the works of Abraham. So let's look at Abraham. We have to look at Abraham. Abraham was a massive giver. Abraham was prosperous. So if Abraham is our father, which if we walk in the covenant of faith, who is the father of faith? Abraham. We have the covenant of Abraham. He was prosperous. He was a giver. If we're supposed to do the same works that Abraham did, then we have to be givers. How far do I want to get into this? We already talked about John 6:11. Thankfulness produces multiplication. Are you thanking God for what you have now? That's what produces multiplication. Before anything multiplies, you have to give thanks. Before anything multiplies, you have to give thanks. Think about this. Think about people you know. You don't have to type their name in the comments, especially if we know who they are, especially if they may be watching. But think about people that stay in poverty. They are always ungrateful. They always are expecting another handout. They're always asking to borrow money. They're always asking for something more. Most of those people never pay back what they borrow, do they? If you genuinely think about it, those people never pay back what they borrow. As you give thanks and acknowledge that God is your source, things will begin to multiply. All right, let's get into the next section. Breaking materialism. Breaking materialism. 1 John 2:15. 1 John 2:15 through 17. Do not love this world, nor the things it offers you. For when you love the world, you do not have the love of the Father in you. For the world offers only a craving for physical pleasure, a craving for everything we see, and pride in our achievements and possessions. These are not from the Father, but are from this world, and this world is fading away, along with everything that people crave. But anyone who does what pleases God will live forever. So if we're only seeking material things, if we're only seeking things of this world, we'll never get them. But if we seek God, He provides everything for us. Materialism must be broken off of our lives in order for God to bless us at the levels He desires. Materialism must be broken off of our lives in order for God to bless us to the levels He desires. Pastor Rodney Howard Brown said this one time. He was praying and the Lord kind of told him this. When everything means nothing to you, then I will give you everything. And what that means is like you are so focused on pursuing God and what He has for you. You don't care about the cars. You don't care about the clothes. You don't care about the houses. You don't care about all this stuff. When all of that means nothing and you're solely focused on pursuing God, then He adds all that stuff anyways because He knows He can trust you with it. He knows that you're not going to forget Him and leave Him and walk away from everything He's done for you. Proverbs 23 verse 4. Do not overwork to be rich because of your own understanding. Cease. The Amplified Classic says, weary not yourself to be rich. Cease from your own human wisdom. Do not overwork. You know, one of the terms people use now is hustle. You got to have a hustle, a side hustle. So many times we're trying to do things in our own strength and our own wisdom, and it never gets anywhere. Right here, this is telling us, stop trying to overwork to be rich. Stop relying on human wisdom. Matthew 6:33, seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Proverbs 28:20. Actually, let's go to Proverbs 10:22. Proverbs 10, verse 22 says this. The blessing of the Lord. So you see the contrast. In Proverbs 23, it says, because of your own understanding, your own human wisdom, don't overwork. Don't wear yourself out to be rich. But right here in Proverbs 10, the blessing of the Lord. So you see the contrast of us trying to bless ourselves and the Lord blessing us. The blessing of the Lord makes a person rich, and He adds no sorrow with it. Deuteronomy 8:18. Deuteronomy 8:18 says this. Remember the Lord your God. He is the one who gives you power to be successful. He is the one that gives you power to be successful. Other translations that you've probably heard more, He is the one that gives you the power to create wealth. So you can choose to either try to do it in your own strength, or you can rely on Him and He gives you power to do it. He blesses you and makes you rich and adds no sorrow to it. Proverbs 28:20. A faithful man shall abound with blessings, but he who makes haste to be rich at any cost shall not go unpunished. So whenever you walk away from the Lord to become rich, you get punished. But whenever you are faithful to the Lord, it says that you will abound. You will have many blessings. 1 Timothy 6. 1 Timothy 6, 9 through 10. Out of the Amplified Classic says this. But those who crave to be rich fall in temptation and a snare and into many foolish, useless, godless, and hurtful desires that plunge men into ruin and destruction and miserable perishing. For the love of money is a root of all evils. It is through this craving that some have been led astray and have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves through with many acute mental pangs. How many times have we seen this? That someone's heavily involved in church, and they're asking the Lord to be blessed because they want to be more impactful for his kingdom. Then the Lord promotes them. They start making good money. Then they start going to events they normally wouldn't go to. They start being around different crowds they normally wouldn't have been in the past. They start getting involved in things they wouldn't have normally been involved with. Then the next thing you know, they're not coming to church. They're not even serving the Lord. They're living in complete sin, and their life starts becoming a mess. It's happened over and over and over again. Proverbs 10:22, we just read that, so we don't need to read it again. The other thing we have to realize is, because this almost puts us in a poverty mindset. God doesn't have to choose on how to bless you. He doesn't have to choose between taking care of the poor and giving you the funds to go on vacation. He owns all the silver and all the gold. He has enough to bless you, to bless all the poor. And in fact, the word tells us he desires to bless you so much that you have an abundance to where you can give to every good work. It doesn't even say every Christian work. It says every good work. Luke 6:38. Give and you will receive. Your gift will return to you in full, pressed down, shaken together. Make room for more, running over, and poured back into your lap. The amount you give will determine the amount you get back. Have you ever been like, maybe you were filling up a jar of rice? Like, how many of you like to pour your rice out of the bag and in like a container, like a jar? My wife likes that. But like, think about it this way. You have that container, right? You have that big bag of rice. You know when that rice starts flowing, you can't stop it, right? Like you panic and you're trying to stop it. But whenever you're first filling it up, you fill it up a little at a time, you shake it, kind of tap it on the table so it all gets in there. When you give, that's what God is doing with your blessing. He's tapping it in there so you can get more. Then all of a sudden, when that rice starts coming out, and it overflows, and it's all over you, it's all over the floor, it's all over the counter. That's how God wants to bless you. If you put him first, if you seek him, if you do what he's telling you to do, you're going to have an abundance of rice all over your lap. Amen. Hebrews 11:6 says this. Actually, let's go back to what we were reading. Luke 6:38. Let's look at it in the Amplified. Amplified says this. Give, and gifts will be given to you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. For they will pour into the pouch formed by the bosom of your robe and use as a bag. For with the measure you deal out, with the measure you use when you confer benefits on others, it will be measured back to you. I'm wearing a hoodie right now. I like hoodies. How many of you like hoodies because you can put your hand in the little pouch? You can feel like a little kangaroo, right? What he's saying is you will be blessed so much that the blessings won't be able to stay. How many of you, men, carry a wallet in your pocket? You will be blessed so much that you won't be able to fit it in all your pockets, and you'll have to put it in the pouch of your hoodie. That's what that just said. In the pouch formed by the bosom of your robe and used as a bag. You'll have to use the pouch of your hoodie as a bag because you will be so blessed. Hebrews 11:6. He is a rewarder of what? Those who diligently seek him. Are you seeking him with everything you have? Do you wake up thinking about him? Do you go to sleep thinking about him? When you're working, do you do it as a blessing unto him, as you're serving unto him? Doesn't matter what your job is. Are you doing it unto the Lord? Or do you look at it, man, I don't like my boss, so I'm not going to try hard. I'm going to be late today. I don't want to go to work. I'm going to be late. I'm going to leave early. Are you working as you're working unto the Lord? He is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. Just as we spoke earlier, that is who he is. That is his character. The same yesterday, today, and forever. Acts 20, verse 35. Paul says this, and I have been a constant example of how you can help those in need by working hard. Are you working hard? You should remember the words of the Lord Jesus. It is more blessed to give than to receive. Are you working hard? Are you blessing others? Are you looking to be a blessing to other people? Matthew 25, verses 37 through 40. Then these righteous ones will reply, Lord, when did we ever see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink, or a stranger and show you hospitality, or naked and give you clothing? When did we ever see you sick or in prison and visit you? And the king will say, I tell you the truth. When you did it to one of the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you were doing it unto me. So that's what if you get this revelation, then the way you see other people will completely change. The Lord, the Father is telling you, Jesus right here is telling you in Matthew, when you give to someone else, when you pray for them, when you meet their need, whatever it is, physical, mental, emotional, material, when you meet their need, you're doing it for the Lord. I bet you would start blessing people a lot differently when you realize that it's the same as if you're blessing the Lord. Instead of just scrapping through the change thing in your car, you'd give them your best offering. Are we blessing people with the revelation, knowing that we are actually blessing the Lord when we bless other people? If materialism is an issue for you, then I'm going to give you a challenge. Start going back through your finances and seeing what you spend on whatever it is for you. Maybe it's an Amazon addiction. Maybe it's clothes. Maybe it's shoes. Maybe it's Starbucks. Whatever it is. Because even food can become materialistic. Having to always have a Starbucks cup in your hand because you think it makes you look cooler. It looks good on Instagram. Whatever it is. Materialism comes in a bunch of different forms. Social media is the biggest form of materialism. I think I get into that here in a second. But if materialism is an issue for you, then start giving that money that you would normally spend. Start giving that to those in need. So hey Jeff, both Jeffs, good to see you. If you spend $300 every month on clothes, start giving that $300 to people in need. Whether you give it to the benevolence fund here at the church, whether you sow it into One Vision that goes after souls, whether you give it to the food pantry here that goes to the hungry and the needy. Say it's a Starbucks addiction, $7 every morning, $5 every morning, whatever it is, add that up for a month. Then sow it into where the Lord's telling you to sow it into, to where it's going to go to feeding the hungry, to where it's going to go to going after the brokenhearted, after souls. Start giving it towards those in need. Start being intentional about what you know. And what I mean by that is know how Christians in other parts of the world live. If I could take you to some of the places I've been, and I would love to do it, then the way you look at materialistic things would change. I consider it a great blessing to have as many shoes as I do. I don't take it for granted. I've told my wife I don't need any more shoes. Do I like shoes, and will I gladly accept shoes when other people bless me with them? Yes. But do I need any more shoes? Absolutely not. I have been to many places in the world where a kid owns one pair of shoes. One, and their toes are breaking out. They've got them tied together. They've got them taped together. Meanwhile, we're here complaining about the car we have. I think if I remember right, the latest statistic is only 30% of people in the whole world have a vehicle. And that's including bikes, that's including a horse, that's including everything. And many times we complain about the vehicle we drive. So start following things. Start actually researching. You remember months ago I told you to pick a country to pray for and start researching the country, right? How many of you still pray for that country? How many of you even remember what I'm talking about? Go actually start researching what the poverty levels in that country are, what the median wage is in that country, what the average wage is. A lot of us complain we don't make enough. You know what? A lot of countries, they make less than $5 a week. Some are making like $3 a week. And we complain about what we have. I remember even waking up to this here in the U.S. I was an intern down in Tampa, still in Bible school, many years ago, and Pastor Allen asked me to go with him. We had to check on this. I don't even know how this girl came to the church. She ended up at the church and in the youth group, and she had called for help to get transport from her grandparents. We went to the grandparents' house to pick her up way down in like the swamps of Florida. We pull, like, you turn right past a Walgreens, like a normal suburb. You turn right past that, then you turn a left. And all of a sudden, you're on a gravel road. You're under a bunch of massive pine trees. And there's all these shacks, like literal shacks, like right in suburbia that you couldn't even tell they were there if you were just driving down the main road. We pull up to this girl's house. It is literally slats of wood that you can see through. No heating, no air. The electrical stuff is just raw wires running right above our heads. If you would have turned and put your hand somewhere, you would have hit a raw wire. In America. But we complain about what we have. If we start seeking after the Lord and we start seeking to be like Him, blessing others, being realistic about where we are and who's in need. Whenever you get broken from materialism, God starts giving you things like crazy. Because He knows those things don't have you. Because that's the line. If materialistic things have you, then God doesn't have you. But as soon as you turn that switch and cut that off, and you're solely after God, He starts giving you the things. The other thing we have to do, and I'll kind of end on this note, is stop. Are y'all listening? Give me the ear emoji if you're listening, because this is important. And I even saw some of this week. And I'm not doing this to call anyone out. I'm calling everyone out. It's not picking on anyone. This is just the reality. Stop following celebrities on social media. Stop watching things like Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Stop worrying about what everyone else is posting on social media. How many of you follow me on social media? If you've sent me a request and I haven't accepted it, because I don't hardly get on there. If I'm on there, it's literally to share videos. Oh, Jeff posted a ear with a hearing aid. I didn't even know that was a thing. If you follow me on social media, I don't post stuff. Why? Because I don't care about social media. I don't care, to be honest, I don't care what you're posting. I don't look at what you're posting. Because social media has created this huge issue with people. They're always trying to keep up with people, which causes debt, which causes insecurity, which causes jealousy, which causes yada, 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 yada. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. Stop having to be involved in everyone's social media life. Stop having to post everything about everyone. Stop having to comment on everyone's stuff. I don't even care who follows me, who doesn't follow me, to be honest with you. There are tons of people that I could follow and that I know that I don't follow. Why? Because I don't care. I don't care. We have to get to the point where all we care about is, are we doing what the Lord told us to do? Are we living our lives righteously? Are we doing exactly what He told us to do? Why would we Why would we follow people that are of the world that don't even believe the things we believe in? Why would we follow people that are posting stuff about sin all the time? Like, what? Please explain to me how that makes any sense. So there's even sports people that I like, but then I see stuff they're posting and I'm like, okay, unfollow. There's not very many sports. Like I literally follow my family, some church people, some ministers, and products, and some sports people, and that's it. I don't follow one celebrity that is not a sports person, and most of the sports people I only follow for a little bit. As soon as they post something stupid, I unfollow them. And I don't follow the ones that are posting about their glamorous lives and their cars and all this. Why? Because I am not seeking after those things. If that is constantly in front of you, then where does your mind go? It goes to those things. Materialism can't grow if you starve it out. I'll say that again. Materialism cannot grow if you starve it out. Materialism cannot grow if you starve it out. How many of you have ever killed a plant? I would say 100% of us. Whose fault was it? Was it the plant's fault? Or is it because you didn't water it? Or you overwatered it? Or you planted it right in the sun and it needed shade? Or you didn't prune it? Whatever it was. If you starve something, it will die. If you starve materialism, it will die. If materialism is an issue for you, make it a priority. I am going 6 months. I'm going a year without buying myself whatever it is in that category. Instead, make giving your priority. Make helping others your aim. Go after souls. It's amazing when you start winning souls, you start forgetting about yourself and your selfish desires and what you want and what you need. You start caring more about other people. You start realizing that people have much bigger issues than you do. When you start winning souls and you start going into some of the neighborhoods that we're going into, and you see their apartments and where they're living, you become a lot more thankful. You start realizing that God has blessed you, that God looks out for you. Why? Because when you go after Him, when you seek after His kingdom and His righteousness, He will always look out for you. Well, we'll stop there for today, or else I could go for a long time. So, I love you. Prayer is in about an hour. We have prayer tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. We have Good News live stream tonight at 6 p.m. I love to pop in on those every once in a while. I mean, just to hear Pastor Mike, his amazing voice, number one, but just those teachings are so good. Like to just be able to sit and still listen to his teachings. I love it. I love it. We won't stop that. It's just incredible. So make sure you watch those every once in a while. I know they're all repeats, obviously, because we only have so much footage of him. We only started doing live stream a few years. But pop in and watch those every once in a while. They're still good. Well, love you guys. Have a great day. We will continue on next week with Christians and finances. We'll see you next week.